Hey! Yep, right, a bit of a surprise for me this week. Motone Customs have finally released, or are about to release, some custom parts for the J Series 350 Royal Enfields. Now, we do have some other components to come, but for the moment, these are the oil filter covers for the J Series engine. Available in two iconic Motone Customs designs. I mean, everybody else is copying them now, but Motone released these designs for the Triumph Bonneville models some 5 or 6 years ago. And we've already seen some of these designs introduced for the Honda GB350S as well. It was a surprise for me because I've been bugging Sam about doing some parts for the Royal Enfields for years, and he always makes the right noises, but nothing ever seems to happen. And normally I get an inkling that parts are coming because he'll ask me questions on them. He may even send me prototype parts for testing, but I had no idea that these were coming for the J Series bikes. He'd kept it as a surprise. Now, we'll get onto the Union Jack designs in a moment, but first of all I want to talk about these Webco inspired parts. For the most part, these are precision die-cast aluminium parts. Now, Sam uses precision die-casting because it allows you to make a much crisper part without having to machine it afterwards. And high-pressure precision die-casting leaves fewer inclusions and cavities in the part, so you end up with a much higher quality part. Most manufacturers avoid this method because it is incredibly expensive to create the moulds in order to produce the parts this way. They'll normally sandcast it or they'll CNC machine it. But the problem with CNC machining, of course, means that you are very limited on your designs. You can't make parts like this very easily. Now, in the Webco inspired parts, we've got a black powder coated version and the famous contrast cut version, as you see here. Motone Customs don't make any claims as to the heatsink properties of these parts, but you know, I can't see how they won't work on the original principles that Webco came out with back in the 1960s. After all, physics is physics. Now, the perfect heatsink should be made from something like aluminium or a copper-based alloy like brass. And back in the 1960s, Webco released a whole range of parts just like this. The basically additional cooling fins for air-cooled motorcycles used in competition to stop them from seizing up. The whole point of them was that they were designed to get as much heat out of the engine and into the atmosphere as possible by increasing the surface area of the component, and the cooling fins obviously allowed air moving over it to carry the heat away. These were an additional cooling system before the advent of oil coolers and then water cooling. A forgotten piece of motorcycle history that Motone Customs thoughtfully revived a few years ago, and I can't help thinking that with these modern lean burn air-cooled engines, it's possibly becoming more relevant again. Now, of course, another famous Motone Customs design is the Union Jack design component, again first introduced on the Triumph Bonnevilles as a nod to the heritage, and now for the J Series Royal Enfield 350s. Again, we have an all-black version and a contrast cut version. Now, these parts were primarily designed for the likes of the Hunter and the Meteor, which have black engine casings. But at the same time, I do think that the black will contrast nicely with the polished casings of the classic 350. I mean, it's just down to personal taste at the end of the day. Each one comes in a kit with 3 high-quality stainless steel fasteners and an Allen key to facilitate fitting, as is Motone Customs' habit. It doesn't, however, include a replacement O-ring, and I do find the O-rings on the oil filter covers for these bikes to be a little bit delicate. They're very thin, there's not much meat on them, and they do tend to dry out quite quickly, so I wouldn't advise reusing them. Some people do, but I wouldn't advise reusing them, and I would suggest that you source one before attempting to fit one of these covers. Sam has indicated that he probably will be supplying O-rings for these kits in the future, but for the moment they don't come with them. Now, you should be able to do this without dropping the oil, providing you haven't run the bike on the day that you're doing it and you put it on the side stand, which effectively tilts all the oil to the other side of the engine away from where you're working. You might get 1 or 2 drips of residual oil off the inside of the cover when you remove it, but it's unlikely that it'll be any more than a couple of drips. What I'm saying is you don't need to do this in conjunction with an oil change if you don't need to. Now, the oil filter cover is spring loaded and it's quite a strong spring, so I would keep thumb pressure on it to hold it against the engine while you're removing the original fasteners. Otherwise it'll tend to push it out at an angle and it could damage threads. Now, par for the course for me, really. I made a bit of a cock-up here. As you can see, the O-ring sits in a receiver, a sort of channel on the inside of the cover, and you can see how thin it is. This one was very dry. I've had a replacement in a little bag for a couple of years, just in case I ever needed it. And when I actually pulled it out to make this video, after I'd taken the cover off, obviously, I realised that it wasn't the right O-ring. It's the right diameter, but it's too thick. So for the sake of filming this, I had to reuse the original one, which is past its best. And the cover that I've decided to use on my classic 350 is Motone's solid brass version of the Webco inspired parts. As you can see, sort of the crisp precision and detail on this is just the same as the aluminium parts, but it's very difficult to die cast brass, so these have been cold forged. Most manufacturers would probably opt for sandcasting a part like this. That would require some machining after it's been cast, but the main problem with sandcasting brass is that you get a lot of expansion and contraction problems, so when it finally cools there's a large margin of error for precision of fit, so the quality wouldn't be as good. And the problem is it's not consistent contraction and expansion. They will vary from batch to batch, so cold forging is the only way really to get the factory grade precision of fit that Motone Customs are famous for. Now, as you might have just noticed, I was busy trying to fit that O-ring that was the wrong O-ring into this brass cap. I then realised that I was going to have to clean up and try to reuse the original that I'd just taken off, which isn't ideal, and I certainly wouldn't recommend it. I mean, I got away with it, but I think it was luck more than anything else. I certainly don't trust it because it was very dry and brittle. And I had no choice, I had to get this video filmed. At the end of the day, these J-Series engines get extremely hot in operation, and it does give O-rings a hard time. So as you see me doing here, hold the cover in place, making sure that the ribs or fins are properly aligned from front to back. It is possible to get this the wrong way around if you're not careful. And using the new stainless steel fasteners that come with the kit, get the threads started. Then push the cover home so that you've got it flat against the receiver plate, and carefully screw all the components in until you've got them even on all sides. It is important that you keep the pressure on that spring while you're doing this, because this will want to sit at an angle if you don't do that. I don't particularly like these 3 fastener caps. They're a little bit awkward. I prefer Honda's solution of just 2 fasteners, because it does make it easy to get an even clamping force on these parts. But at the end of the day, I think for Royal Enfield, these 3 fastener systems are traditional. It's what was used back in the day, so they've replicated that with the J-Series engines, so we can't complain. The main trick with these is just to get even pressure by turning each one a little bit of the time to make sure that you've got equal clamping force on each fastener. That is going to substantially dial out any possibility of leaks. Now, I usually find when I do an oil change on these bikes, and it's the same with the Classic 500 if I'm honest, you always get a slight little bit of weeping when you first ride the bike, and initially I would go around and check them all for tightness, and it would get to the point where, you know, you didn't feel like it was going to take much more force on the fastener. But it always seems to stop after the first ride, and I've never really got my head round why that is. So bear that in mind if you have that issue. If you just get a slight bit of weepage after you've first fitted this on your first ride, don't automatically go around and retighten everything. Leave it until the next day and try it again, because I usually find it doesn't do it after the first ride. You know, again, as I say, I can't get my head around why that is. And that's the brass Motone Customs Webco inspired oil cover for the Classic 350, or any of the J Series bikes for that matter. Now what I always like to do is get the bike up on its centre stand and start the engine up and let it warm up thoroughly just to check for leaks. I mean, it's not foolproof that that's going to expose any leaks, because usually the engine needs to be under pressure, you know, for any possible leaks to become evident. But if you really have messed it up, it will usually show it as soon as the engine starts up and starts to get warm. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of people who have already jumped into the comments section before we've got to this bit to complain about how grubby the engine casings looked. I've got to admit, I was a little bit shocked myself. I've been busy with the Honda and the BSA for the last year, so this bike hasn't been ridden. And of course, a year sitting in the garage, the engine casing has become a little bit discoloured, but it wasn't bad because it's had that Auto Bright Direct engine protectant on it. I mean, it doesn't last forever, but it does a really good job of stopping sort of deep pitting on the engine, even after an extended period of time. It must be 18 months since I treated this bike. And the thing is, over the last few years I've been so busy on this channel, I've never actually polished these cases. They are just as they were when I received the bike 3.5 years ago. Now, brass parts, I mean, these are polished when they arrive, and I know people are quite divided about that, because I've shown brass parts like this on you know, the Triumphs in the past. Some people think they look a bit blingy. I quite like the shiny brass look, but yeah, I know where people are coming from. The whole point of these and the type of polish that Motone use is that they will, with time, mellow and start to take on a lovely sort of deep, rich patina, which I think looks brilliant on an engine, or, you know, various other components of a bike. You know, that sort of slightly tarnished but even sort of golden brown look. Now, you can actually speed that up. I made a video, I don't know, 3 years ago, explaining that by using vapours from white vinegar in a food container, it's really easy to do. You can actually patinise these within a couple of hours, but I quite like to leave them to just do it naturally. And after a few months, they sort of blend in with the rest of the bike and they look so authentic. I think it's a great look. But obviously, you know, if you've got this bike, or you've got the Hunter or the Meteor, and you don't want that look, there are those other parts to choose from in aluminium from Motone Customs. A very decent range to choose from. I mean, if I'm honest, I've been trying to persuade Motone Customs to make some parts for the Royal Enfields for years, and I'm still feeling a little bit starstruck that they've actually gone ahead and done it. You know, I have to keep pinching myself. And to that end, I have to confess, I have jumped the gun a little bit. I mean, these arrived earlier in the week, and I was just so excited about them that I had to tell you about them and get this video put together. Motone Customs have them in stock, but as it stands at the time of me making this video now, these items are not up on their website, and I don't know the price either. I'm hoping that by the time this video publishes, I will have those details, and if I do, I will put them in the video description down below, along with the exclusive 12% discount code that viewers of this channel enjoy. If they're not there, well, the discount code will be there in case you want anything else from Motone Customs, but if the link to these items is not there, I will input it as soon as it becomes available to me. Alternatively, petition Sam at Motone by sending him hundreds of emails demanding that he puts them up on the website. Right, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this and my other videos, and in doing so helping to support this channel. I really do appreciate it. I'd also appreciate it if you would leave a like and hype this video if the hype button is available to you. It does help visibility of my videos going forward. Now, there are other ways that you can help. You can subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. You can make a PayPal donation or sign up to my Patreon page, or you can use the super thanks button just below the video that you're watching now if you wish to do so. It's not essential, but it is appreciated. I am, of course, going to be back next week, so until then, please ride safely, and I'll see you soon.